Well, to further unpack this, let's now welcome Professor Philip Frankel, a human trafficking specialist consultant and author of Human Trafficking in South Africa. Professor, compliments of the season to you. Welcome to SA Today. So as an author of this very criminal behavior in South Africa, let's first get your personal account of what you actually observed as trends used to lure would-be victims, demographics, where the practice is persistent, and if the perps also target specific areas due to various socio-economic backgrounds.
It's Sandringham. I think that's very, very significant indeed, because in a study done by the United States government in the course of last year, Sandringham was identified as one of the areas of Johannesburg where there are high levels of human trafficking risk. So that's very interesting that Sandringham was pinpointed. But having said that, of course, you're going to find human trafficking or places of human trafficking, not only in Sandringham. You're going to find it all through Johannesburg, and in fact in most of the big cities and even the medium-sized towns of South Africa. It occurs absolutely everywhere, and it is a very serious problem indeed. It's not a problem which normally gets recognized. A lot of people are astonished by the fact that there's human trafficking in South Africa, but we know for a fact that it takes place in extraordinarily high dimensions. We don't have exact figures, but we think that there could be as many as 250,000 people who are trafficked every year. So yes, it's a serious crime. It's nice to see that in the Sandringham case there was a lot of cooperation between the Hawks and local police, because we need much more of that. Sometimes the police don't come to the party when there's a report, or the Hawks don't go after a report of trafficking. So it's nice to see that happening.
Absolutely, Professor. But then who are the perps? I mean, according to some of the data that you also collected, the reported cases that we are privy to are actually those that were conducted by illegal foreign nationals. Was this what you also found as part of your research data for your book?
Well, look, you know, the perpetrators can be absolutely anybody. We found I found in the course of writing the book, and other authors have confirmed this, that perpetrators are sometimes foreign nationals. There are South Africans who are part of the networks. Some of the organized crime syndicates which deal with human trafficking, if you trace their origins, they go back to Eastern Europe or Russia. So the perpetrators are all over the place, and obviously their work, let's call it their work, for want of a better word, is assisted by the fact that there are so many undocumented migrants in South Africa. Those are very high-risk people. So a lot of the trafficking involves, by no means all, but a lot of it, in this case sex trafficking, will involve undocumented migrants.
And Professor, maybe just take us through some of your most interesting findings pertaining to human trafficking, particularly here in South Africa. You've mentioned earlier on that it's quite interesting that in this case our law enforcement agencies were even able to discover the syndicate, because they're not often well equipped to be quick to spot possible victims or active to deal with these rings or syndicates.
Well, look, I've made the point in my book, and it again is echoed by various other people, that there are two problems with human trafficking. One I've already referred to, and that is the lack of public awareness. So I'm interested to see in this particular case that neighbors actually led the police to this situation because they suspected some sort of unusual activity going on next door. So that's very good. I wish there were more people like that who would report suspicious situations. The other factor which unfortunately comes in is high levels of corruption in the South African police, at the base and right through the organization.
And now in the case, Prof, of these rescued suspected Ethiopian individuals, how would these perps even smuggle these victims undetected at our port of entry? I mean, drug dens operated by illegal foreigners were actually discovered last year. We saw a whole lot of things that were happening, and it seems like police are just not privy to this intelligence until, of course, the final stages.
Yeah, look, I mean, the point is, South Africa is in some ways a paradise for traffickers. We've got huge borders, which are imperfectly patrolled. We've got sea borders. So it's very difficult to prevent the entry of people who subsequently become victims of human trafficking. Then, as you say, with regard to the intelligence, I think, again, to emphasize what I said, an important issue is public education. People need to be alert to where trafficking takes place. They need to report it, as they did in this case. Unfortunately, that is the exception rather than the rule. So we need a lot of public education around this issue, what it is, where it happens, who are the people who are likely to be the victims and the perpetrators, so that the general public is equipped to report these things when or if they see it.
Absolutely. Professor, thank you so much for your valuable input this afternoon. That is Professor Philip Frankel there on the line. He is a human trafficking expert as well as author of Human Trafficking in South Africa.